Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is going to be raw, honest, and maybe even a little uncomfortable, but definitely eye-opening. We're diving into a topic that most people whisper about but few actually understand. Why do women cheat? To help us unpack this, I have a special guest in the studio, my friend and relationship psychologist, Dr. Sarah Miller. Sarah has spent years studying infidelity and the emotional patterns behind it, the real cause and effect connections that often go unnoticed. She's here today to share the 10 real reasons why women end up crossing that line. And trust me, some of them will surprise you. So grab your coffee, sit back, and let's get into it.
Secrets of Alex's Friends.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Sarah Miller, and thank you for being here. I want to start by admitting something most people don't expect from a relationship psychologist. The stories I hear about infidelity rarely begin the way you imagine. If you came here thinking she cheated because she met someone better, get ready. That's only one small piece of a much bigger puzzle. Let me tell you what really happens from the front lines. Over the past decade, I've worked with hundreds of women from different backgrounds: teachers, nurses, engineers, moms, entrepreneurs, different faces, different lives. But the reasons they stepped over the line? They repeat like a pattern. And the pattern is almost never simple. First, emotional neglect. That's the number one thread I see. It doesn't look dramatic at first. It looks like quiet dinners, texts that go unread, a partner who's physically present but emotionally checked out. Over months or years, that silence becomes a weight. One day a woman tells me, "I didn't feel seen anymore." Not sexy, not cinematic, but lethal to intimacy. And when someone new offers attention, it can feel less like betrayal and more like oxygen after holding your breath too long. Imagine craving a conversation so badly that a single compliment from a stranger feels like a lifeline. That's how seemingly small things snowball. Second, the need for validation. We live in a culture that equates worth with being wanted. For many women, especially after kids or career sacrifices, confirmation that they're still desirable matters. A text that says "you look amazing" can land like proof that they still exist outside their roles. I've seen smart, devoted partners chase that feeling, not because they don't love their families, but because they don't recognize themselves anymore. Third, revenge. Pain begets dangerous thinking. If a woman has been hurt, cheated on, humiliated, emotionally manipulated, some choose retaliation to reclaim power. It's messy and hurtful, and it rarely heals anything. But I can't ignore how often I hear, "I wanted him to feel what I felt." That sentence alone explains a lot about human impulse when the heart is raw. Fourth, unmet needs that have nothing to do with sex. Companionship, laughter, intellectual connection. Those are often missing before sex becomes a factor. An affair sometimes starts with a conversation on a broken day, and then becomes a shortcut to emotional intimacy the marriage failed to provide. That's why the other man is frequently a mirror, not the cause. He reflects what the woman lost. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most women who cheat don't wake up one morning and decide to ruin everything. They drift. They accumulate small silences until the first genuine sentence from someone else feels like survival. In my practice, I always ask one question that changes the conversation. What did you need that you weren't getting? The answers are rarely about physical attraction. They are about being listened to, being acknowledged, being alive. When people hear the word cheating, they picture passion, seduction, late-night texts. But in reality, it's often about something quieter, something sadder. It's about self-worth. I've sat across from so many women who whisper the same phrase through tears. "I didn't cheat because I stopped loving him. I cheated because I stopped loving myself." That's where the next reasons come in. The silent struggles that rarely make it into conversations, but destroy relationships from the inside out. Let's start with low self-esteem. You'd be shocked how many women tell me they feel invisible, not only to their partners, but to the world. Years of giving, to kids, to work, to others, can erase their sense of identity. When someone new looks at them like they're fascinating again, that attention feels electric. It's not about the person giving it. It's about finally feeling alive again. It's not the compliment itself that pulls them in. It's the reminder that they still exist. Then there's the fear of aging. This one is powerful, especially in a culture obsessed with youth. I've heard women in their 30s or 40s say, "I just wanted to know I still had it." That phrase, "still had it," breaks my heart. Because it means she's measuring her worth through the eyes of someone else, usually because she's stopped seeing her own beauty. One woman I counseled told me, "My husband never called me beautiful anymore. I thought maybe no one would." When a coworker started noticing her, a smile here, a compliment there, it wasn't lust she fell for. It was the feeling of being noticed again. We all crave to be seen. But when the only eyes that once adored you start to look past you, that absence can hurt more than words ever could. Now, let's talk about escapism. Affairs often start as emotional getaways. Life becomes an endless list of responsibilities, deadlines, children, bills, expectations. And sometimes a woman just wants to step outside of her own life, even for a moment. The affair becomes her secret vacation, not to a place, but to a version of herself that feels free. I remember a client who said, "With him, I wasn't a wife or a mom or an employee. I was just me." That statement might sound selfish, but if you've ever lost yourself in your own life, you understand that craving. And then there's the darkest one, unresolved trauma. Some women repeat what hurt them because it's familiar. If you grew up feeling unworthy of love, part of you might seek relationships that confirm it. Cheating can become a twisted way to regain control. "I'll leave before I'm left." It's heartbreaking, but it's real. Sometimes betrayal isn't rebellion, it's protection against pain they've already felt before. These reasons don't excuse infidelity, they expose it. They show us that behind every act of betrayal is a story of unmet needs, buried insecurities, and emotions that never found words. What shocks people most is that many women who cheat still love their partners. They don't want to destroy their lives, they just want to feel something again. In my experience, the affair isn't about sex or even love. It's about the search for identity in a world that constantly tells women who they should be. Let's be honest. Temptation has never been closer than it is right now. You don't have to sneak into a bar or meet someone after work anymore. All it takes is one message, one emoji, one "hey, long time no see," and a door opens that shouldn't. We live in a time where emotional intimacy can start online before we even realize it's happening. That's why the next few reasons behind infidelity belong to our generation, the digital age. Let's start with digital validation. Social media isn't just about connection, it's about attention. Every like, every heart, every "you look gorgeous" gives a little dopamine hit. For someone who's been feeling unseen, those small digital interactions can turn into emotional addiction. Affairs don't always start in hotel rooms. Sometimes they start in DMs. I've had clients who swore they'd never cheat until they realized their daily chats with a friend had crossed an invisible line. "We never met," they said, "so I didn't think it was wrong." But emotional affairs can be just as damaging. When you share your secrets, your frustrations, your dreams with someone else, you're giving them the part of you that once belonged to your partner. Next is emotional disconnect in marriages. When communication dies, affection doesn't vanish overnight, it fades quietly. You start living beside each other instead of with each other. You stop asking, "How are you?" because you already think you know. But people evolve, and when partners stop noticing that evolution, someone else will. The scariest part of a relationship isn't fighting, it's silence. I once spoke with a woman who told me, "He didn't do anything wrong, he just stopped being there." That's when she found herself confiding in a coworker, then laughing a little too much at his jokes, then realizing she was looking forward to work more than home. It didn't happen overnight. It happened because her emotional life had moved somewhere else. And finally, there's fantasy versus reality. Maybe the most modern reason of all. Movies, shows, Instagram couples, they all sell the same illusion. Love should feel like fireworks every day. But real love isn't built on adrenaline, it's built on consistency. And when women start comparing their reality to a fantasy feed full of perfect relationships, disappointment grows. The affair becomes a fantasy too, until the fantasy ends and the consequences begin. What I tell my clients is this: people don't cheat because they're evil. They cheat because something inside them is starving for attention, affection, or affirmation. But here's the truth most never realize until it's too late. The emptiness you try to fill with someone else doesn't disappear. It follows you. Because the real healing doesn't come from another person. It comes from facing what's missing inside you. And maybe that's the hardest part. Not confessing to the affair, but confronting the pain that started it. If you're listening and you've ever felt unseen, unwanted, or unloved, please don't look for the answer in someone else's arms. Look for it in yourself and in honest communication before the silence turns into distance. Thank you for staying with me through this conversation. If there's one message I want you to take away, it's this: affairs aren't just about betrayal. They're a mirror, a reflection of what's broken, what's missing, and what desperately needs to heal. Because understanding why it happens is the first step to making sure it never does again.
That was powerful, Sarah. And I think a lot of people watching right now might be rethinking what they thought they knew about cheating. But what do you think? Do you believe infidelity can ever be forgiven? Or once trust is broken, it's gone forever? Share your thoughts below and I read every single comment. And if today's story gave you something to think about, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss more real stories and deep conversations like this one. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care of yourselves and your hearts. See you in the next one.
Secrets of Alex's Friends.